Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here. You know, there's a lot of battling going on in the states over women's rights. Texas, for example, is trying to essentially strip funding from Planned Parenthood. There are states like Michigan which are going after abortion rights with all kinds of legislation, and so this battle is an important one. And our activist of the week is somebody who's been in the trenches on this for some time. She's a Washington, D.C. feminist, also a reproductive justice advocate. She's formerly the Action Vice President of the National Organization for Women Now. We're so glad to welcome as our activist of this week, Erin Matson. Erin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So, Erin, first of all, your reaction to what Texas is doing in terms of trying to strip funding from Planned Parenthood?
I know, it's absolutely abhorrent.
What can folks in Texas do about it?
Well, I think more than anything, what we need at this moment in time is outrage. I mean, we're on the other side of an election cycle, and so we've got to build that base to change the composition of the state legislatures throughout the country. 2012 was the second most restrictive year on record for reproductive rights in the state, following just 2011. And as we've seen, these radical conservatives in public life are intent on continuing.
What do you think is happening in the states in terms of allowing these sort of victories by the Republicans? Is it because of control of the legislature that they're focusing on sort of state battles instead of federal battles, and that perhaps Democrats have been somewhat asleep on this?
Well, there's no question that the front lines of the fight for reproductive justice in this country is happening at the state level. While there is terrible activity at the federal level, it's really in the states where we're seeing opponents try to push their strategies. And so what we need is long-term grassroots work within the movement to help.
What are some of the things that organizations like National Organization for Women and National Abortion Rights Action League, what does it mean in terms of sort of grassroots activity?
Well, as you know, there's tons of work in terms of just simply organizing and educating people about the issues at stake, community-level events, often locally driven. And then you saw huge efforts with all hands on deck with a whole variety of organizations to get out the vote and educate people in the last election cycle. And as you saw, by and large, that went pretty well.
Are you of the belief that, in fact, that's more effective in this day and age, that to sort of campaign, even on an issue like whether it's women's rights, abortion rights, that it is more effective, the sort of door-to-door campaigning than the sort of national, large sort of media efforts that some organizations are taking?
Well, it's all of the above, and everything is needed, but there's no question that person-to-person level conversations and person-to-person actions and conversions are really the sustainability of any movement in this country. And so that work at the grassroots is so important. Everyone listening to this show has power to make a difference. Talk to the people you know. Make sure that everyone you know is registered to vote. Make sure that everyone you know is planning to vote every election cycle. Make sure that people know and connect what legislators are doing currently. Oftentimes you don't hear the people who are pushing restrictions against women's rights and lives. That's not what they tell their constituents back home that they're working on. They'll puff up their chest and say that they're working on, for example, fiscal issues. Of course, that's usually another way to say that they're pursuing a social agenda. But regardless, a lot of times constituents at home don't know that, for example, that their legislator is actually trying to push forward a personhood bill, and that's certainly not what most constituents want time spent on.
Erin, this is Daniel Marin's executive producer. I was just wondering, recently, obviously, there was a tremendous rape scandal at a high school in Steubenville, Ohio, in which it appears, I guess, the people that are accused of the rape are denying it or saying that the woman was asking for it. Are you surprised that we're still dealing with these issues of casting blame on the victim for rape? And generally, just what did you think of the scandal in Steubenville?
Well, the scandal in Steubenville is actually just reflective of what continues to happen throughout this country and indeed the entire world. There is systemic and routine denigration of women. Sexual violence against women and the sexual objectification of women are a huge part of women's second-class status in society here in the U.S. and throughout the world. I'm struck by the parallel to the recent horrific gang rapes that you may have heard about in India on a bus, where a woman was raped and actually murdered. And what you had is similar to in Steubenville. You have people rising up in outrage simply because law enforcement up to this point has not been able to adequately address these crimes here in the United States and throughout the world. And so it's really just disturbing. It's difficult for me to even get through the videos of some of the joking that takes place about this heinous crime that occurs.
What needs to be done? Is it legislation? Or, you know, we had someone on the show a couple weeks ago named Rebecca Nagel, who was involved in a group called Upsetting Rape Culture, and they did a kind of a satirical Victoria's Secret underwear line celebrating consent and making that the heart of the issue with rape and kind of pushing back against a culture that continues to objectify women. What would you say it is, legislation or more satire like that?
Well, it's all of the above. We need cultural shifts, and that includes violence in the media, and specifically violence against women and the glamorization of rape and sexual assault. You'll often see it suggested that that's something that's sexy or something that people should fantasize about. So that's certainly part of the solution, and creative efforts like what you were just referring to are really great, and they grab attention, and it's good to see people bringing creative solutions forward. But there's no question that the time for legislative action is now. It's disgusting. We've heard a lot in the news about how the House failed to pass a bill for Sandy victims, for relief for Hurricane Sandy victims, and the entire nation is outraged by that. Similarly, the same way the House turned its back at the end of the last Congress on victims of violence against women, whether we're talking about rape, sexual assault, stalking, domestic violence. It was the first time in 18 years, after 18 years of bipartisan support for the Violence Against Women Act, that House Republicans allowed it to expire. And so there's no question that we need a more robust VAWA reauthorized now in 2013 that will include important protections for...
Aaron, we got to hit a break, but you're absolutely right. Erin Mattson, independent women's rights leader. Erin, thanks for being our Activist of the Week. Take Action News continues after this.